So, like, we outline these interviews. I don't ever really kind of follow it, but man, your outline is like a 6 hour interview. So, like, I'm trying to. You've done so freaking much in your life, dude, and still a young cat as
Hey,
well. Man, just
well,
trying to pick this apart. I'm just gonna go through a few things and just kind of gloss over them. You appeared on TV
okay.
a lot as a teenager. You played in Russia, of all places, with a band. You've had a huge impact on your life and your career by Seal, of all people. Let's talk
Right.
about that. Talk about Seal and the impact he's had on your life and your career.
Well, I mean, Seal changed my projective of my career as in so many ways. I think it was 20 years ago, and I'm playing. I get invited to this little party up in the Hollywood Hills, and I'm playing a couple songs for about 10 people in the living room, and in walks Seal.
Oh my God!
and, and the cat's got, he I guess he lives in the neighborhood, and he's got like shorts on and some sandals, and he just comes strolling in, and he's listening to me play, and I'm kind of freaking out inside but trying to keep it cool. And afterwards, uh I approached him and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm a big fan and thanks for listening." And I jokingly said, but with a very serious face, I said, "Listen, if you ever need an opening act, give me a shout."
Let's go.
And I bolted out of there. I was like, I got to get out. I was young. I was like, Listen, I'm gonna get out of here before I say something or do something stupid." So I got out of there, stopped at this taco truck on the way home, and then my phone rings the next morning, and it's my manager at the time. And he says, "Where were you last night?" And I said, "Oh man, I played, I played another one of these things where somebody says, 'Hey, you want to come to the party and play for free?'" And I was kind of bitching about it a little bit, moaning about it a little bit. And he says,
Imagine.
"Well, this one might pay off." CS management just called and want to know if you can open for his world tour.
Wow.
And I said, "What?" And so I ended up doing 4 legs of this tour, 2 international legs in Europe and 2 US legs. And op opened my eyes and heart up to so much. It was my first big tour. I was opening up solo for the European leg, had a trio for the US leg
Wow.
and, legs, and it was just so eye-opening, the best soulful education that any musician could ever ask for. Seal was, one of the best bosses I've ever had, was so inclusive, so kind. He included me in how they traveled, the hotels they stayed at, the the uh, the meals they had. I mean, he was so inclusive. It showed me that how humble and how much of just a good cat he is, and I'm extremely thankful. Uh, I think about him all the time, and just extremely grateful to him.
And
Yeah,
derived from a live living room free concert, essentially, right?
that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, happened to be a good living room. Yeah,
That's what we call a
yeah,
good night. And yeah, always, man, always shoot your shot, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen,
yeah.
bro? You know?
Hey, that's I tell young songwriters, show up. If you get invited somewhere and you show up, go
Yep.
play. Do give it your all. Play in the living
Yeah.
room like you would a stadium. You know.
I just love
Yeah.
that you had the confidence though to walk up to Seal and say, "Hey, man, if you need an opener, I might be available." Yeah, shoot your shot, man. You just
Yeah.
never know. Man, we had a
Yeah.
songwriter, Grammy-winning songwriter, on the show recently, and she told us a story about hiding in the bushes to try to get a demo to Conway Twitty. So shoot your shot, by
Ooh,
God. You just never know what's
ooh,
gonna happen.
ooh,
You know what I mean?
right. Wow, that's a good.
Yeah.
I would have to check out that interview.
Her
Listen to
name's
that
Jan
story.
Buckingham. If you want to check it out, yeah, that was a great story.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
anyway, so yeah, you've done a lot. At 15, you were diagnosed with something that should be pretty life changing for a musician, and I know you've talked a lot about this, but I think it's called otosclerosis, right? And this affected your
Oh, that's
hearing.
that's correct.
And so essentially, you
Yeah.
lost all your hearing in one ear and most of your hearing in another ear. Is that right?
Well, initially, I lost pretty much all my hearing in both ears, and then I had a surgery when I was 16, called a deck, and they went into my right ear and removed my stapes bone and replaced it with a like a prosthetic stapes bone.
Okay.
And then I basically still deaf in my left ear. I had to basically kind of learn everything over. My brain had to catch up. Um, and so I started plugging away, and it was a really hard road, but I really wanted to get back to music, and so that's what I ended up doing. And and then I got a scholarship and went to college, and I never really told anybody that I was deaf in my left ear. In my right ear, I had got about at that point, I was probably about 65, 70% in my right ear.
And you were
And
instrumental
so,
before this happened. You already played instruments and stuff like that.
oh yeah, yeah, I was singing and playing and playing TV and all kinds of stuff, before that. So I was my soul was in crisis when it happened. I mean, I
Oh, I
was
can
just
imagine.
completely devastated. But yeah, but I had choices. I could face the mountain and start climbing, or I could I could choose to retreat, and
Hmm.
I choose to climb, and it's a really, if there's anything that's going to test musicians' love for music, it's going deaf.
Yeah,
So,
I can imagine.
um,
And
so
that's why I
yeah,
asked the story about lessons earlier because, like, it's pretty clear to me, having read your story, that that perseverance that you learned from your folks was instrumental, no pun intended, in getting you through this soul crisis that you self-described. Right? That
that's right.
perseverance came in clutch.
That's right, that's right, absolutely, absolutely, and I figured out a way to get through it, and I figured out a way to show up, and for many, many years, decades, I didn't tell anybody about it. I'd just show up, and I'd always ask for the monitor on my right, and I learned how to read lips and read body language and just figure out a way, and so I ended up kind of feeling like it was this kind of superpower in a way, like, I've got this kind of hidden thing that nobody knows about, and it's powerful, and so I I ended up using it to my advantage, I think, and it's spiritually, as far as like dealing with it. I get pumped up when I think, I'm in front of all these people, and nobody knows that I've deaf in one ear, partially deaf in the other. And then the just the opposite happened. I got asked to do a TED Talk in 2013, and they wanted me to talk about I think the word limitless was the theme that they want everybody to write about and talk about, being limitless. And so I reached really deep down and I said, now, now's the time to talk about this. And I talked about it in the TED Talk, and I started getting letters, man, from all over, from people that were just really affected and hearing their story. And I realized, everybody's dealing with something, and everybody's got mountains to climb. And, you know, if I can get out and empower others with this story, I'm going to start talking about it. And so that's what I did. Instead of tucking it back and hiding superpower, I was like, let's let everybody know. And then it just grew and grew and grew and grew, as far as uh just holding my own power with it.
Yeah,
It's like, not only do I know I've overcome this, but I'm helping other people with this story. So how 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 much of a blessing is that?
absolutely. I feel
Overcome
like
something and then have the able to help others. Yeah.
I feel like looking at your story, like being vulnerable, so I don't want to say easily because it's never easy to be vulnerable, but just being vulnerable in your lyrics, right? Being able to put out your heart, your soul in your art. Do you feel like that really helped
Mhm.
you in being vulnerable with your personal disability story as well? In other words, do you feel like being a songwriter helped you to be able to take that step and being vulnerable and helping other people achieve and overcoming as well?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this may sound weird, but I I don't think I know any other way to be, like,
Yeah,
it's just my natural state.
it's DNA.
Um, it's who I am. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And that's just what I do. I just try to stay true to who I am and true to myself, and if folks listen, that's
Yeah.
even better. You know,
I
oh,
love that, man. And